the movement of materials into and out of cells.
Yes, sir.
Move, movement of materials into and out of out of cell. So because it is a two-way traffic. So if something is able to get into the cell, so definitely there will be some substances which will have to go out of that substance, of that cell.
Yes.
So commonly, this concept that we have studied about this, that there are two main types of transport that we commonly classify the types of movement. One is passive, and from this word, you can get an idea about this type of movement. There is a passive movement,
Yes, sir.
right? And there you will have another type of movement, that is active movement. From these terms, I hope you will be able to define this uh, type of movement. That the only one difference is there. That difference is
Use of
the use of energy.
yes, sir.
Use of energy. Right. So from here you can define passive movement, and definitely whenever you have to define these terms, so the one thing that should be the part of this topic, that is an example. You have to mention that what type of movements which are commonly taking place in the cell, and specifically they are passive, or what type of movements in the cell which are actively move across the membrane. So
Yes.
use of energy is the core concept in this all. So uh, passive, as have we have discussed, that passive movement is the that movement which is without uh,
Use of
the
energy.
expense of energy,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So now we'll try to dig out that what types of passive movements are in this cell. So
Mm,
what is the first movement that comes in your mind, which is commonly uh, taking place in cell? That is simple diffusion. This diffusion, how you will define this diffusion, and I hope you have studied about this in your O levels. So
yes, sir.
diffusion is just the movement of molecules from higher gradient to lower gradient, or from higher concentration to lower concentration.
Yes, sir.
If something is, for instance, you have a cylinder, there you have the number of molecules, on the other side you have the pipe and another cylinder in which you have only these molecules. So the principle of diffusion is that the molecules will move from this direction to this direction,
Yes, sir.
because it is the higher side of the movement, like it is the higher side of the uh, gradient, and it is lower gradient on the lower side, or the lower concentration of the molecules on the other side. Are you getting this point?
Yes, sir.
Is it fine? Okay. So bilipid bilayer, the concentration of molecules is higher for one side and the lower on the other side.
Yes, sir.
So this down the gradient movement is always considered as simple diffusion. Now, the very next point is that you have to give an example, living example in the living organisms. That what uh, uh, is the process or the mechanism in which you have studied this simple, or you have observed this simple type of movement or the diffusion, and that is very simple. And we know the example would be what would be the example here? Diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Yes, sir.
Diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and this is where it is between alveoli It is between alveoli and blood capillaries.
Yes, sir.
Example you should keep. So this is an example that, uh, as we know, alveoli are the sacs which are present in the lungs. And if the concentration of oxygen when you inhale, whenever we inhale, we actually increase the concentration of oxygen in our lungs. So there you have alveoli, and those alveoli, for instance, you have this sort of a sac-like structure which are surrounded by the capillaries, and the oxygen which is present here, that will move towards the capillaries. Why? Because the concentration is higher here and the concentration is lower in the capillaries. From there, it will go to the blood vessels, like it is going for to oxygenate the tissues, so on and so forth. Right. So in a similar way, when our cell utilize the energy, or they produce energy, so as a byproduct, as the end product, there's a carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide has to be come out from the
Yes, sir.
body. So, and this movement of oxygen into the body and the movement of the carbon dioxide out of the body as a whole is because of the simple diffusion, and it is also taking place at the cellular level with the same mechanism of simple diffusion. But are you getting this point?
Yes, sir.
So rate of diffusion depend upon, we should know what type of the factors which are responsible for this. What do you think?
Sir, the concentration of ions.
uh, like, hmm, the first thing is concentration gradient.
Yes, sir.
We should start from here, no? Concentration gradient.
Yes, sir.
The more the concentration gradient, the more diffusion will be.
Yes, sir.
This is first point. These are the factors. Uh, what do you think about temperature?
Sir, the more the temperature, more the diffusion.
Yes, the more diffusion. What do you think about surface area?
More the surface area, more the diffusion.
Yes, this is so. So it is also one thing that you were talking about now. I mean, that is the nature of molecules
Yes, sir.
or the ions. Nature of molecules or the ions. What do you mean by this? It means that what is their size, what type of molecules they are, whether they are able to move from higher concentration to lower concentration itself or not. So, like, there are many sort of examples.
Yes, sir.
Now, another important thing is that is facilitated diffusion.
Yes, sir.
I hope you're getting
Yes, sir.
better facilitated diffusion. Very simple. Uh, very simple. Channel plus carrier proteins these two factors will help the movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. Are you getting it? So the molecules movement across the gradient, that is possible by two ways. One is channel, or another important thing is carrier protein. These two factors will be able to provide what facilitated diffusion. It means it is the type of diffusion which is facilitated by some factor, and those factors are channels or carrier proteins. Whatever it is present in the cell, they will provide this opportunity to move the movement of molecule. For instance, uh, the movement of ions or electrically charged molecules. What do you think? How they will get into the cell? Now the question would be why those molecules are not able to pass through, yeah, across the membrane, although the gradient is higher on one side and the lower on the other side. Why this diffusion needs some help for movement? That is very simple, because of, for instance, you have a charged molecule. You have a charged molecule.
Yes,
If
sir.
molecule is charged, so it will not be able to pass through the plasma membrane. Why? Because it has to face hindrance there, because lipid bilayer, uh, the phosphate is there, phospholipids are there, they are hydrophilic and hydrophobic in nature. So
Yeah.
that hydrophobic and hydrophilic nature actually repel or attract the molecules. So the uh, that is why the charged particles would not be able to pass through the plasma membrane without any assistance, and that assistance is provided by
Facilitated diffusion.
proteins.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yes, facilitated diffusion. That who will provide that facility? That facility will be provided by channel or any other carrier protein. Right? Are you getting this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now you have another type of movement, which is also the movement like we can say a passive movement, and that is osmosis. How you define this?
Sir, ji, the movement of water molecules or water
Mhm.
through
Osmosis.
uh, without the
Mhm.
use of ATP.
Mhm. Osmosis. But osmosis is the movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration. One thing you should keep in mind, that is what? Through
Yes, sir.
semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane. The movement of molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration through the semi-permeable membrane, that is what we call osmosis, right? So definitely that's a water movement, the movement of water molecules,
Yes, sir.
and it is also like a passive movement. There is no need to utilize energy here, and it is also a gradient based, right? On one side you would have the higher gradient, on the other side you have the lower gradient. So this is how takes place, right? So next point is active transport. Let's talk about active transport. That would be help us to understand that another type of movement will be active transport. Important thing is we should know the examples,
Yes, sir.
right? So how you will define this active transport?
Sir,
Is it not the opposite to the passive?
yes, sir.
Two
Movement,
things will. Huh? Yes, please.
the movement of ions by using ATP.
One thing is the expense of energy, or utilization of energy, use of energy, use of energy. This is one point. What would be the other? Give it up. What
It is
do you know
against the
about the?
concentration gradient.
Yes, yes, against the concentration, against the concentration gradient. Are you getting it? Is it fine? Okay. So, uh, you can give number of examples. You have another example of active transport. Sodium potassium pump. Sodium potassium pump.
Yes.
Sodium potassium pump. It is also in cell membrane, and specifically in neurons, where uh, we always see the homeostasis in the cell is always be maintained by this sodium potassium pump, because both this pump means one side of this pump is transporting oxygen, on the other side it is transporting potassium. So both are there against the concentration gradient, right? The sodium potassium pump is used to do what? What is
Sir,
its function? To maintain the resting membrane potential of the neuron, right? And electrochemical gradient of the cells. Two things or two functions. One is what? Resting membrane potential. Resting membrane. Are you getting this point?
yes, sir.
Resting membrane potential. Another function is electrochemical gradient.
Yes, sir.
Maintenance of electrochemical gradient. What do you mean by this? What type of chemicals here? Definitely those potassium and potassium and sodium. Both these molecules, they uh, move or the uh, transport across the cell membrane. Now you have another example of in which you have to utilize energy, and that is bulk transport. Bulk transport. Transport. Right, Buddha? So,
Yes, sir.
hmm, do you have any example of this bulk transport?
Sir, the bulk transport is the movement of ions uh, in a,
It is bulk. One thing, keep
yes,
in
sir,
mind bulk. Something
quantity is
is
very
heavy.
high.
Uh, something is the form of, in the form of bulk. What do you think about the endocytosis and exocytosis?
Yes, sir.
Is it endocytosis, where you need a vesicle,
Yes, sir.
and that vesicle will be able to cross the plasma membrane. It will move out, whether it is going out or getting in. It is always been the form of vesicle. It is
Yes,
endo because it is endocytosis, so it means that the engulfing of material by the cell membrane. So that we can give an example of phagocytosis.
yes.
Phagocytosis by white blood cells. All right. So pinocytosis. Pinocytosis. All right. So what is this? Drinking taking place in liquid material. You know, exocytosis.
Yes, sir.
All these are the examples of the bulk transfer. Right, Vida?
Yes, sir.
So exocytosis. Give an example of this. जी
एक्सोसाइटोसिस
Vida.
सर जी ये
Enzymes transport.
एसिटाइल कोलिन उसमें यूज होती है सर जी.
Yes, that's also good. Hormones are proteins transport. These enzymes and hormones or proteins, they are synthesized in the cell
सर जी
and after their formation. Give it.
एसिटाइल कोलिन हार्मोन है.
Acetylcholine is neurotransmitter. That
ये-
is neurotransmitter. That is a chemical which is secreted from the brain, and it is there to utilize or to help you in movement, your muscle movement, the contraction and relaxation of skeletal muscles due to neuromuscular junction. This acetylcholine is involved there. Are you getting? But right now, that's not a thing that we should discuss here. Yes, that is also helping you in the sense that, for instance, we are talking about there are two axons there. They have like this presynaptic membrane and postsynaptic membrane. So there will be a vesicles here, and these vesicles will contain the hormones, sorry,
न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर.
neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters will be when they have to transport from one membrane to the other or one neuron to the other. So this vesicle will come to fuse here, and after its fusion, it will release these neurons, and these neurons will move across the synaptic cleft and get into the other neuron. So this is also a sort of movement, like it's also a bulk movement. But here, what we want to discussed here, that is the synthesis of enzymes, synthesis of hormones, synthesis of proteins. All this has occurred in the cell, you know, by transcription and translation. Once it is synthesized there, it is packaging, it's finalized, and then it has to get it out of this. And that is with the help of vesicles. Are you getting this point? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's all. I think we have completed this topic, and this topic is completed now.
Yes, sir.
And then we will discuss its. Yes, we'll go on the mitotic cell cycle in our next lecture. Okay, so still here, I think we have completed, and we're doing well, hopefully. Uh, but you have to choose one day for practice with it. It's very important.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Choose one day as you know your exam is on corner. So
सर जी इसका कोई
also,
आप एग्जाम वगैरह रखेंगे?
I love to do that, but it depends on you whether you are ready for it or not.
सर जी आप इसका
I
कोई
love.
एग्जाम वगैरह प्रिपेयर करके ना एकेडमी वालों को भेज दीजिए, मैं उधर अटेम्प्ट करके आप
Uh,
कर दूंगा.
but I have all. मैं भेजता हूँ want to say.
यस सर.
Why
कोई
not?
वो.
Okay. Okay.
यस सर.
ठीक है. We will be hopefully हम इसको करेंगे काम. वैसा.
यस सर. वो 14
Coming
15
days.
को केमिस्ट्री वाले सर ने
जी.
बताया था, तो मैंने कहा फिर आपका भी टेस्ट हो जाता है एक डे.
Okay. All right. All
यस सर.
right. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay बेटा. Thank you. Allah Hafiz. See you.
ओके सर जी. अल्लाह हाफिज़.